Okay, so we've talked about several toy lines here inspired by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa, that was recent. You should watch that if you haven't yet. Street Sharks, Muscle Mutts, we've talked about a bunch, and we're going to talk about more in the future, trust me. But the question has been kind of put forward, why have we not yet talked about the four Green Brothers themselves? And I have an answer, a fairly valid answer at that. See, I'm a huge fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was reading the comics back in 1986. Yeah, I'm that old. And I started watching the cartoon as soon as it hit the TV. I'm also an avid collector of the figures, but here's the thing. The toy line, even just the original line, it's massive. It would take a lot to cover it all, and so today, we're not going to do that. Today on Rewind Toys, we're going to be talking about the early TMNT toys. Hey gang, Jason Emmett here, and yes, I said the early Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys. That's going to be like circa 1988, 1989-ish. Now, this isn't going to be a history of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic, but we do need to touch on it at least a little bit in order for things to make sense. See, in late 1983, comic book authors Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, they're like sitting around goofing off one night, and Kevin Eastman, he draws this turtle standing on its hind legs with a pair of nunchucks, and he calls it a Ninja Turtle. So yes, for those who are wondering, Michelangelo, I guess technically, was the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. And just an FYI, that original sketch, the original drawing, sold for $2 million. Not too shabby. So anyway, Peter Laird slaps the words Teenage Mutant over top of Ninja Turtle, like you do, and what follows is this whirlwind of mass popularity. Now, originally, the two men only printed like 3,000 copies of their comic book, and they did that with money out of their own pocket and a small loan from a family member. That run, it sold out in a matter of weeks, so I guess it's like off to the presses, right? Gotta make more. The comic was selling like hotcakes, which it is my understanding that they sell very well. Hotcakes, I mean. And because they were selling so well, that started to attract a lot of attention. These characters, these turtles, they were ripe for an action figure line. I mean, what kid wouldn't want an anthropomorphic turtle wielding ninja weapons? I know I did. So Eastman and Laird are eventually contacted by a man named Mark Friedman. Friedman is a licensing agent who he believes he can really make something of this turtle line. So Friedman took the idea to a variety of toy companies, but they all kept turning him down. They just didn't feel the concept was popular enough to support a full toy line. I bet those guys are real unhappy with that decision now. So then Friedman takes the idea to a small company based out of California, a company named Playmate Toys. Now, Playmates had been around for quite some time, but they had mostly produced preschool-age toys. I mean, up until that point, their biggest hit was the Cricket doll. Some of you may remember the Cricket doll. So Playmates really liked the idea of producing the turtle action figures, but they were really nervous about trying to sell the property based solely on the popularity of a comic book. These guys, they weren't fools to how 80s merchandising works. They wanted a cartoon. Let's be honest. I think we all wanted a cartoon, right? Am I right? So a team is pulled together, and that team includes animator Fred Wolf, writers John Schulte and Jack Mendelson, and producer Walt Kubiak, amongst others, obviously. Now, that cartoon graced our screens in late 1987, and our first series of action figures hit the shelves a few months later in 1988. In Series 1, we had Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, Raphael, April, Splinter, Shredder, Rocksteady, and Bebop. By the way, those two characters, they were invented for the cartoon. They did not hit the comic books first. And we also had the ever-growing, difficult-to-find foot soldier, for people who want them in their collection. I'm looking at you, army builders. You know who you are and you know what you do. You make it really hard for me to get a foot soldier. We also had a few vehicles in that first launch. The Turtle Blimp, the Cheapskate, the Turtle Trooper, and the Foot Knucklehead. Wasn't it crazy that these Ninja Turtles that lived in the sewer had a blimp? Was it even crazier that the toy was an actual like blimp? No, I guess that probably isn't as crazy as mutant turtles flying around in a blimp, but it is crazy, and the toy was really, really cool. Now, that original packaging featured the characters busting through bricks, and the back gave us a quick breakdown of the story, along with a character profile card and pizza points. Pizza points. The one thing that made kids just want to destroy that beautiful packaging. Now, you could use those pizza points to, like, mail in and redeem for cool merchandise like, posters and VHS tapes, T-shirts, patches, towels, stickers, etc., etc. You get it. You understand. So if we take a hard look at the figures, which are awesome, we love them, we're not complaining, we're just making an observation here. We might notice that they don't exactly look like their cartoon counterparts. I mean, they resemble them enough, but they're not exact, right? Honestly, I was always pleased that the Turtles' appearance was obviously inspired by the Mirage comics, as I had started with the comic books. I mean, they look a little meaner in the toys. The reason for this was because the toys, which, as you might recall, were in talks before the cartoon, were being produced concurrently. That means at the same time with the series. Now, earlier cartoon models were also based off original sketches before it was kind of determined that, they needed to give them pupils and make them look a little more cartoony and whatnot to appeal to a younger audience. The toys were also being produced quickly so that they could be released closer to the release of the show. One of the biggest burning questions I think most of us had and probably still have is, what the is up with Shredder? There's that weird squat pose, the choice to go against cartoon and comic book completely to make him shirtless, and he had that like skinny midsection. Sure, I mean that Shredder is iconic now, but back then it was just, why? Okay, so I've actually read theories as to why for both issues. I've read that original mock-ups went shirtless to resemble other bad guys of that era, like Skeletor. And there is a little bit of a hint that maybe that was correct, and we'll talk about that here in a second. As for the pose, I've heard it's taken from a scene directly out of the comics, which may be. I've also heard it allowed for them to make a taller version of Shredder, taller than the Turtles, but if they squatted him down, he could actually fit in the same size packaging as the other figures. Now, you can decide if any of this is true or not, but if you think about it, it does kind of make sense. So I mentioned Skeletor, and I said there might be some truth in this. Now, one of the designers for the figures was a fella named Mark Taylor. Now, Taylor had worked on the OG Motu line. I guess not. I assume most of you are collectors, but maybe not all of you are. Motu means Masters of the Universe. You'll hear it a lot, so if I say it, I apologize. It's Masters of the Universe. Anyway, Taylor had worked on the original Motu line, and he brought a few of his influences over to the Turtle line. And if you really think about it, they have some similarities, especially in their stance, their articulation, their overall size. Plus, they both have things like removable harnesses, solid weapons, things like that. Now, as we true collectors know, the four bad brothers, as well as Splinter, Shredder, Rocksteady, and Bebop, they all originally came with a soft head version. So you hear people refer to the soft head version and the hard head version. And these all came out in 1988, both soft and hard. Now, the soft head came first. It was cheaper to produce and saved Playmates a little bit of money overall. And since they weren't too sure about whether this toy line was going to succeed or not, they were looking for ways to keep costs down. Once they saw that it was going to work, they switched to the hard heads. Now, soft heads are from the very, very first run, and yes, they are slightly more collectible. Now, the turtle figures had 7 points of articulation: neck, shoulders, wrists, and, the hip areas. And the Turtles came with their signature weapons. They also had throwing stars, they had the kama, and they had fist daggers. 1989 was another great year because it introduced Casey Jones into the figure line. We also saw Baxter Stockman, Ace Duck, General Trag, Genghis Frog, the Rat King, Usagi Yojimbo, Leatherhead, Metalhead, and Krang. And I bring this up because, a few of these characters, in my opinion, really helped to round out the core figures, the ones that we were sort of used to seeing and that we really wanted. So what most people consider to be the original line ran from 1988 all the way up through 1997. It's estimated that when one takes in all variants and different figures and things along those lines, that there are over 500 different toys to collect. So to you completionists out there, well, good luck. I mean, you don't need it. You guys are crazy. You know you're crazy, right? I love it. You guys are insane. Some of you guys just, with your collections. I mean, it blows my mind. We have Farmer Turtles. We have Rock and Roll Turtles. We have Movie Star Turtles. Sports Turtles. There's Caveman Turtles. There are Outer Space Turtles. I mean, you guys get it. There's a lot of turtles. Now, I really like to give shout-outs where shout-outs are due. And because of that, I want to recommend checking out one of the most prolific turtle collectors that I have seen out there. Has no idea I'm giving this shout out, but I want you guys to check out at Plastic Flashback on YouTube and Instagram. This dude's dedication to turtle collecting is amazing, and his collection just blows my mind. He also does really cool videos and is worth checking out at Plastic Flashback. So I want to cut in here just really briefly to ask you to do that cool thing and hit the subscribe button if you have not already done so. Just know that by hitting subscribe, you will save a puppy's life. Probably you're not going to save a puppy's life, but it definitely won't put any puppies at risk by hitting subscribe. That much I can promise you. Anyway, thanks, guys, for subscribing. Really appreciate it. Now, something a lot of you might not have known was that before Playmates had any licensing, a company named Palladium Toys, I think it's just Palladium. Anyway, they had a license for TMNT for a role-playing game. I don't know much about role-playing games. I don't really do a lot, but I think it still exists today in some form. You guys, if you are into it and you can let me know down in the comments, but it's Palladium, TMNT role-playing game. And then I know Dark Horse actually released miniatures that I assume coincided with the RPG. Again, I wanted to let you guys know it existed before Playmates, and if you guys played it or still continue to play it, please let us know in the comments. That's really cool. We'd love to hear from you. Anyway, this was by no means ever going to be a full-on TMNT toy episode that covered the entire run.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
This was meant strictly to talk about where the toys found their start. Now, personally, I am a collector. I have almost the entire 88 run loose. Missing that foot soldier. Can't find one. Thanks, Army Builders. I also have a few of the 89 and the 90 and a couple of carded figures, including my unpunched Michelangelo, which was a gift from my wife and my children for Father's Day, and I absolutely adore it. It's one of my favorite pieces in my entire collection, period. So let me know if you guys collect. Let me know what one of your favorite pieces is in your turtle collection, and let me know who your favorite character is. For me, I've always been a Leonardo guy, but let me know who your favorite TMNT character is. Guys, I want to thank every one of you for stopping by. Again, I love the interaction. You guys have been leaving great comments. I try to keep up as best I can. Sometimes there's a lot, and I don't know who I've answered, so if I haven't, I apologize. But I really love hearing your stories and hearing about your collections, so please continue to do so. And remember, until next time we speak, guys, when it comes to these awesome retro collections, the hunt really is half the fun.